Center in New York City. Still unbelievable to watch that thing happen. We've got Dr. Meir Litvak on the line. He's currently the senior lecturer at Tel Aviv University, recently in the Middle East, the senior lecturer at Tel Aviv University, recently in the Middle East, the senior lecturer at Tel Aviv University, recently in the Middle East, the senior lecturer at Tel Aviv University, recently in the Middle East. The senior lecturer at Tel Aviv University, recently in the Middle East, the senior lecturer at Tel Aviv University, recently in the Middle East.
I couldn't help at one point in my discussions privately with General Secretary Gorbachev, when you stop to think that we're all God's children, wherever we may live in the world, I couldn't help but say to him, just think how easy his task and mine might be in these meetings that we held if suddenly there was a threat to this world from some other species, from another planet, outside in the universe. We'd forget all the little local differences that we have between our countries, and we would find out once and for all that we really are all human beings here on this earth together. Well, I don't suppose we can wait for some alien race to come down and threaten us, but I think that between us we can bring about that realization. In our obsession with antagonisms of the moment, we often forget how much unites all the members of humanity. Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world. And yet, I ask you, is not an alien force already among us? What could be more alien to the universal aspirations of our peoples than war and the threat of war? I think maybe I'd answer it this way. I keep, in my frustration sometimes, you know, actually, if you count some of the things going on in smaller countries and all, there have been about 114 wars since World War II. But I've often wondered, what if all of us in the world discovered that we were threatened by a power from outer space, from another planet? Wouldn't we all of a sudden find that we didn't have any differences between us at all? We were all human beings, citizens of the world, and wouldn't we come together to fight that particular threat?
And as I was finishing the Lord's Prayer, there was another extreme explosion.
When the second plane crashed into the South Tower at 9:03 a.m., Lee and her mother were no accident.
And as I was finishing the Lord's Prayer, there was another extreme explosion.
When the second plane crashed into the South Tower at 9:03 a.m., Lee and her mother were...
And as I was finishing the Lord's Prayer, there was another extreme explosion.
When the second plane crashed into the South Tower at 9:03 a.m., Lee and her mother were... no accident.
And as I was finishing the Lord's Prayer, there was another extreme explosion.
When the second plane crashed into the South Tower at 9:03 a.m., Lee and her mother were... no accident.
And as I was finishing the Lord's Prayer, there was another extreme explosion.
When the second plane crashed into the South Tower at 9:03 a.m., Lee and her mother were
Extreme. Explosion. Extreme explosion.
Gentlemen, welcome.
Adrian, we know everything.
Then what's there to discuss, Dan?
Plenty. You killed comedian.
May he rest in peace. Blake figured it out first. Nixon had him keeping tabs on us, making sure we weren't rocking the boat. Blake found out what I was doing here in Karnak, and by the time he visited poor Moloch, he was cracking badly. Even I couldn't predict he'd be the one to have a change of heart. So, I had to kill him. Then I neutralized John. No easy task. I put roughly $2 billion into Tachyon research to block John's vision of the future.
You used his psych profile to manipulate him. Got him to leave the planet.
I've known John long enough to see he isn't devoid of emotion. His subtle facial twitches wouldn't be noticed by the layman, but to me, he might as well have been sobbing. All I needed to do was tug on the thread. The sudden flood of emotion John felt when he came to believe he'd given cancer to the people he loved was all the excuse he needed to leave Earth.
You're a bullshit assassin. You paid him to throw us off.
Mr. Chess gave his life in the service of a higher cause, Dan. I put a cyanide capsule in his mouth, leaving only one loose end. You and your mass killer theory. One you followed with the tenacity of a true sociopath. I tipped off the police, and once you were in prison, I was able to move forward.
Sorry to disappoint you. We were supposed to make the world a better place.
Dan, that's exactly what I am doing.
Nuclear war, human extinction.
Of course, my moral safeguards gave me pause as a necessary sacrifice. A few key regions around the globe: New York, Los Angeles, Moscow, Hong Kong, disintegrated in an instant. 15 million people killed by Dr. Manhattan himself. The world's punishment for flirting with World War III.
John wouldn't do that.
In fact, no one outside this room ever has to know. The energy breakthrough I was working on just came to fruition. All these years, John was helping me replicate his power, unaware of how I planned to use it. You see, the comedian was right. Humanity's savage nature will inevitably lead to global annihilation. So in order to save this planet, I had to trick it with the greatest practical joke in human history.
Killing millions.
To save billions. A necessary crime.
You know we can't let you do that.
Do that, Rorschach? I'm not a comic book villain. Do you seriously think I'd explain my masterstroke to you if there were even the slightest possibility you could affect the outcome? I triggered it 35 minutes ago.
Extreme explosion. 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 Extreme explosion.
There was an enormous intelligence failure here, that the massive resources of the U.S. intelligence community had no indication. There was an enormous intelligence failure here, that the massive resources of the U.S. intelligence community had no indications that there was an enormous intelligence failure here, 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 intelligence failure intelligence failagence 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 fail
Center in New York City. Still unbelievable to watch the thing happen. We've got Dr. Meir Litvak on the line. He's currently the senior lecturer at Tel Aviv University, recently in the Middle East, traveling.
It's all well and good, but when the fit hits the shan, somebody's going to have to stay after school. Who do you suppose that might be?
I don't know what you're
The
talking
senior
about.
lecturer at Tel Aviv
Spy
University,
satellites
recently
show
in the
it,
Middle
Mr.
East,
Breen.
traveling.
They show no war.
Then what good are they if they show no war? I mean, what are we spending $250 billion a year on the Defense Department? What good are they if they show nothing? And what are they, useless? Or they just broke? Or what? I mean, what is it?
I would like to point out further that these medications taken in
If there's no
conjunction...
threat, then where are you? Let me go you one more. If there's no threat, what good are you?
Mr. Breen, you are the threat.
I'm the threat. I am the threat. But what have I been doing the last 30 years that you haven't been doing? You want to fill me in on that?
The last 30 years, Mr. Breen, I have been working to ensure the security of my country.
As have we all, and I would
Well,
like to
of
point
you
out
and
that the
your
security
parents.
of this
But if
country...
forced to choose between the security
But
of your
if
country and
the
the
security
security
of
of
this
your job,
country
which would you
is
pick?
not-
And while you hesitate, permit me to suggest that they are one and the same, your country and your job.
I'm doing my job, Mr. Breen. That's what you see me doing.
I'm doing my job
What is
too.
it you are doing?
I'm
That's
doing
what I
my
would
job
like to
too.
know.
And let me ask you something. Let me ask you a simple question. Why do people go to war? Why do they go to war?
I'll play you silly game.
Okay, why do they go to war?
To ensure their way of life.
Would you go to war to do that?
I
And
have.
if you went to war again, who would it be against? Huh? Your ability to fight a two-ocean war against who? Who? Sweden and Togo? That time has passed. It's over. The war of the future is nuclear terrorism. It is, and it'll be against a small group of dissidents who, unbeknownst,
To ensure their way of life.
would you go to war to do that?
I have.
And if you went to war again, who would it be against? Huh? Your ability to fight a two-ocean war against who? Who? Sweden and Togo? That time has passed. It's over. The war of the future is nuclear terrorism. It is, and it'll be against a small group of dissidents who, unbeknownst perhaps to their own governments, have blah, 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 blah. And to go to that war, you have to be prepared. You got to be alert. The public has got to be alert because that is the war of the future. And if you're not gearing up to fight that war, then eventually the axe will fall and you're going to be out in the street. And you can call this a drill, you can call this job security, you can call it anything you like. But I got one for you. You said go to war to preserve your way of life. Well, Chuck, this is your way of life. And if your spy satellites don't see nothing, if there ain't no war, then you can go home and prematurely take up golf, my friend. Because there ain't no war but ours.
The senior lecturer at Tel Aviv University, recently in the Middle East, traveling.
Fernsehsendung so lange weiterzumachen, wie wir uns hier halten können. Diese Stadt ist jetzt fast vollständig verlassen. Es gibt nur noch ein paar Nachzügler auf den Straßen. Notdienste existieren nicht mehr. Das Feuer breitet sich weiterhin unkontrolliert aus. Das unglaubliche und sinnlose Massenmorden hat sich auf jedes Land der zivilisierten Welt übertragen. In jeder Stunde werden mehr Menschen davon erfasst, getrieben zu sinnlosen Taten extremster Gewalt. Wir haben noch Berichte erhalten, allerdings vage, über mutierende Menschen, deren Körper anschwellen und verzerrt werden, sich total verändern. Bei uns verlagern sich die Massentötungen ins Inland. Alle großen Städte der Ostküste schweigen. Wir haben auch den Kontakt mit Los Angeles und der Westküste gestern Nacht verloren. Es ist zurzeit unmöglich zu sagen, wie viele betroffen sind. Sollten Sie aus irgendeinem Grund, so wie wir, noch nicht davon erfasst sein, suchen Sie sich sofort ein sicheres Versteck. Trauen Sie keinen Freunden oder Familienmitgliedern. Ich wiederhole, trauen Sie niemandem.
Wartet! Es tut mir leid wegen deiner Eier! Das war doch ein Zufallstreffer, sonst nichts! Wartet! Ich bin nicht wahnsinnig! Hört ihr mich? Ich bin nicht wahnsinnig!
Fühlen Sie sich, mein Freund. Ganz
Das ist keine Sutter Kane Story, das ist nicht die Realität! Nicht die Realität, nicht die Realität! Das ist die Realität! Die Realität ist nicht die Realität! Ist nicht die Realität! Oh mein Gott!
which, the night no one comes home. Keep your own secrets. Don't even think about it.
Rorschach!
Wait. Never compromise. Not even in the face of Armageddon. That's always been the difference between us, Daniel.
I've made myself feel every day. See every innocent face I've murdered to save humanity. You understand, don't you?
Without condoning or condemning. I understand. Out of my way. People have to be told.
You know I can't let you do that.
Suddenly you discover humanity. Convenient. If you'd cared from the start, none of this would have happened.
I can change almost anything. But I can't change human nature.
Of course you must protect rights in a utopia. What's one more body amongst foundations? What are you waiting for? Do it.
durch.